Solo, solo direi. 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 Una campana suena, mira que bonita era. Una campana suena, mira que bonita era. Y está, y está, y está, la campana va a sonar. Y está, y está, y está, la campana va a sonar. Señorita, señorita, la campana va a sonar. Señorita, señorita, la campana va a sonar. Y está, y está, y está, la campana va a sonar. Y está, y está, y está, la campana va a sonar. Eso, alegría. Toma. Ay, maladeya. Maladeya de mi corazón. Vale. Ay, maladeya de mi corazón. Solo, solo direi. 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 Una campana suena, mire que bonita era. Una campana suena, mire que bonita era. Y está, y está, y está, la campana va a sonar. Y está, y está, y está, la campana va a sonar. Ay, olvidé. Oh, 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 oh. Solo diré. Solo diré. Line on line on line. Line on line. Line on line on line on line. Line on line. Line on line on line on line. Solo diré.
Hey!
The show is Horses Sing None of It. My name is Ralph Litwin. My co-host is Alan Podber,
Hey, Ralph.
also doing sound mixing and
Video direction.
video direction, yes.
A
And
jack
our
of all
guest
trades.
today is Tony Silva. Welcome to the show, Tony.
So nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
How you doing?
Good, good. Really good.
So tell us about that song.
Well, that song was by a guy named Manolo. Well, his full name is Manolo Bisiri, but they just call him Manolo. That's the way he's known. And he is part of the same gypsy tribe of Gitanos that the Gipsy Kings are from. So this is the same body of music, the same tradition as the Gypsy Kings, but a different artist.
Great. Can you translate a little bit for?
Well, solo diré is only I will say. And, you know, the song doesn't say much, which is kind of fun because it just goes to show that you don't need a lot of lyrics to make a good song. So, solo diré, and then una campana suena, a bell I hear ringing. Mira que bonita era. Look at the beautiful woman. The bell is ringing and look at the beautiful woman. That's what the song is about.
Great. I love it.
Very simple. Very simple.
And can you tell us how you got involved in Spanish music?
Yeah, it was kind of a long road, but it started when I got a job playing guitar in a Mexican restaurant in East Hampton, Massachusetts, called La Casita Azteca. And my wife is Mexican. My wife of many years is Mexican, and she always seeks out the fellow Mexicans in the area. And when we moved to East Hampton, we found this restaurant who was, at that time was owned and operated by a man named Alberto Lopez. And I have to credit him with really giving me my start here, because he heard me play and he just immediately offered me a job, and because he loves guitar music. But at that time, I didn't play any traditional music, and it felt really kind of not right for me to go into this Mexican restaurant playing blues and, you know, bluegrass and funk and rock. You know, it just didn't seem right. So I started to learn Mexican music. From there, I started to learn music from South America, where my dad was from Chile in South America. So I learned Chilean music, I learned Argentinian music, Colombian music, Peruvian music, Bolivian music, a lot of different songs from South America. And that led me to Spanish music, because what I started to realize is that really the source of a lot of this music is Spain. And that's when I started to really get serious about Spanish guitar.
What else would you like to give us?
Okay, let's see. Well, since we're talking about Spain, I'm going to play another rumba flamenca from Spain. And this one has lyrics by the great Spanish poet Federico Garcia Lorca, and music by Manzanita, one of the great rumberos of Spain. And yes, I just think it's a very pretty song. Here we go.
Cuerpo de frío plata.
Viva España!
Can you give us a translation of some of that lyric?
It's flamenco in particular, is that there's kind of a difference between songs and letra, as they call it. Now, a song is something that has a beginning, middle, and an end, and it's all basically about one subject. But letra is really a series of poetic lines that are modular. They can be pulled and put into different places. So this is more like letra, where the whole song doesn't really add up to one theme, but each verse has its own little character study. Verde que te quiero verde, green, I love green, how I love green. So that's the opening subject, and then we move to the woman on the veranda, in the shade on the veranda. And then the next one is about how, if you're a gypsy traveler, you want stability. So I would trade my cuchillo, my knife, for your manta, for your blanket, basically. I would trade these things that I have that represent my traveling to the things that you have representing a house and a home and a stability. So that's the second verse. The third verse is about coming through hardship, through the mountains of Cabra, the mountains of the goat mountains, which is a very hard place to travel through. And so, yeah, each verse has really its own little story in it, which is kind of beautiful.
That's great.
Now, I found very interesting the rhythm that you were playing on that piece. Would that be related like to the rumba rhythm?
Rumba is from Cuba, and flamenco is from Spain. And rumba flamenca is Spanish and Cuban music mixed. They talk about the songs of ida y vuelta, songs of there and back, round trip songs. Right. So these songs 150 years ago or more came to the New World, and people loved to sing them in Cuba. But in Cuba, they played them on drums rather than on guitar. Right. And when these songs came back to Spain, they started drumming on the guitar, and that's when you hear the traditional rumba flamenca strums. I didn't invent all of this. I learned how to do it, but the strum that I'm using goes like this. Boom, ba boom, chak, boom, ba boom, chak, boom, ba boom, chak, boom, ba boom, chak. So I'm playing drums and playing guitar at the same time, which is really fun.
Well, it's interesting because it talks about, it also relates to the rhythmic emphasis that is built into the music.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting that you mentioned the drums also because, I hear in that rhythm that you're doing, I think we had mentioned this, we had talked about it before when I saw you in concert, that there is an accent that's something like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3, and that's an accent that is prominent throughout the African continent in the drumming of African and in the African song. And in Cuba, where there was a large Afro-Cuban population, it's understandable that was infused into the drum music, which then later got applied to the guitar music and other folk traditions.
Well, it's interesting that you should mention that because recent research really points to Africa as a major source for flamenco. Yeah. So we didn't really talk about that in the old days. In the old days, it was like, okay, flamenco came from the mixing of these cultures, the Jewish culture, right, the Moorish culture, the Christian culture, and all of these guys got along great and they made flamenco together. Well, that's a bit of an oversimplification, and we're finding that that's not completely true. To some extent it's true, but there's a major African influence in this music, for sure.
It's interesting, but it's also interesting that you just mentioned the Jewish component in flamenco music. And there's a parallel also in Eastern Europe. In the European tradition, in European music, Jewish music and Gypsy or Roma music, there was a blending of that. And we see the same thing happening in Spain, I believe, in flamenco music, where in the Gypsy music, there's also there was a lot of participation of the Sephardic Jewish population.
Absolutely.
In that.
Absolutely.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So you want to hear another?
Okay, let's. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to play another one in the style of rumba flamenca, but this one's an original song. And yeah, after 10 years or so of learning to play this style, I came up with my own. And I have this, actually, you can get this song on my CD, Reflections of Spanish Guitar, which is available on Bandcamp. And this song is called Rumba de Amor. Rumba of Love. gracias. Thank you.
I agree. Double that beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, one of the things I love about this music, well, about rumba flamenca in particular, is that when you look at the different palos, palo meaning branch, the different branches of flamenco, of which there are many, over 50 probably, and rumba flamenca is one of them. These different branches they have very specific tonalities and compás and all of those things. Whereas rumba flamenca is very flexible. It can be in major keys, it can be in minor keys, it can be in Phrygian. It can have a lot of different kind of characters to it. So that's one of the things I love about it, is it's really can fit into a lot of different emotional, feelings.
Did we get to talk at all about the Phrygian scale yet? You just mentioned it.
Yeah, well, that's the one that, when you think of Spanish music, you usually think of this. So just a brief, and it's a little bit not correct in terms of music theory, but we're going to use this term anyway. We're going to say that the Phrygian scale goes with the E major chord. So there's my E major chord. So the major scale sounds very kind of happy. So normally you'd have that scale go with this chord, but in Spanish music you have this scale. So that's the Phrygian scale with the E chord.
Which is fascinating, actually, because, what it basically is, it's like if you play a C scale.
Exactly.
Starting in E.
Right. And they have the tonality, the tonal center is E.
Is E, right. So it's like you're taking a regular do-re-mi scale that you would start on a C note, only instead of starting and ending on a C, you take that same scale and start and end on an E.
That's right.
But what I also find fascinating is that you're playing the third note there would be E, F, G, so to be G would be the minor in the key of E. But it's very often accompanied with the major E. So you're playing a melody which has both the major and minor third. And that's the same thing that happens in American blues.
Yeah, right.
Only, there you get the blue note, so
exactly.
You get that in between note.
Yeah,
but you basically got the blue note against the major third.
Yeah, we have just different blue notes in Spanish music. And actually, I have heard rumba flamenca called the European blues. Mm-hmm. Because it does come from also a place of hardship. The blues came out of African Americans' experience, slavery and post-slavery, and this music came from the Gitano experience of persecution, really from the very beginning. 500 years of persecution, really, to this day. Well, now I'm going to move down to South America to Venezuela. And I'm going to play a traditional song from Venezuela that you may recognize because it is really kind of come into the jazz world. So this one's called Moliendo Café. This is the story of the lonely coffee grinder. Here we go.